Detectives are baffled as to what might have motivated the brutal attack that's left a young man not only physically but emotionally scarred. So I've been inspired to take a sneak peek at the Australasian Quilt Convention. Now it's on here at the Royal Exhibition Building over the next 4 days. There's more than 350 quilts on show, everything from world peace to rock and roll. But the real centrepiece of the whole show is this one here. There's more than 70 patches on a piece that's 4 by 4 metres large, and they've come from right across the great land. Anyway, the Bureau says we're in for another nice day tomorrow. Bit frosty early on. I'll be back with more at 5:55. Mel? Thanks very much, Helen, and a very good evening. Well, it's hard to believe that just a few days ago we were taking reprieve from those unseasonably warm conditions down at St Kilda Beach after that icy blast crossed the state over the Easter break. So I've come down to the Melbourne Zoo where I'm taking advantage of a wonderful opportunity here, which is to feed the giraffe. Now, anyone can do it. You just have to book in early. And the best thing is you can even get your photograph taken while you're here too. So why not come on down and give it a go? Good evening. Well, I'm here at the scene of yet another dark chapter in the off-field rap sheet that seems to have now littered Brendan Favola's career. He was here at the Glenfrey Hotel at around 7:30 last night drinking with friends and teammates when it appears he fell sick and vomited in full view of other patrons here at the pub on a night that ended violently with a fight unfolding at the restaurant just a couple of doors down. Now, as we know, it comes at a time when Brendan himself is trying so desperately to reprise his AFL career, a dream that appears now to be out of reach. While they were reluctant to be on camera, neighbouring workers in the street say they witnessed an argument break out here at the property that ended with one of the men involved thumping on car windows as he left about a month ago. What happened, Kim?
Unfortunately, my parents are on the board. Get the off of me!
Enough. Tony Atala recounts the horror of his son's brush with death. Rakhal Ebeli, 10 News. Thanks, Mel. The state government has moved to overturn a ban on big businesses trading on Easter Sunday in a bid to help Melbourne retailers cash in on the tourist dollar. Now, while most large retailers have embraced the decision, not everyone is happy. Smaller independent stores who've previously held a monopoly on the market during Christianity's holiest day say they stand to lose up to 50% of their trade. Thanks, Helen. Well, it's hard to imagine after all that rain we've had up in the northwest and here in Melbourne that now the city's just about bathed in beautiful sunshine, although of course we are now seeing that sandbagging just a couple of kilometres from the CBD. Now let's take a look at where the rain fell over the past couple of days. As the jury was dismissed from the courtroom, 34-year-old Fatal stood up in the dock and yelled, "Islam is the truest religion. Thank you very much." While the former world number one enjoyed a fairly low-key round, it promises to be a very different scenario tomorrow when the world's eyes once more turn to Tiger as he defends his title.
Man, I would love to win here. I mean, this is it's a great golf course and another great field this year.
Rakhal Ebeli, 10 News. Well, 24 hours on and the pain is still very raw here for St Kilda. He's obviously in town with his team from the English Premier League, Everton. And Tim, you're not without a bit of local support.
No, it's fantastic. The kids have travelled down and they go to Everton school, and it's nice for them to give me support and give me some inspiration for the game.
Absolutely, and we've got some wild weather obviously on the way, but you're not. Smell and a very good evening. Well, wasn't it another chilly one here in town this morning? In fact, we recorded our lowest overnight low of 2010 of just 3.6 degrees just after 7 o'clock today. But spare a thought for our friends over in Essendon, it got down to just 0.2 of a degree overnight. Well, come and say hello to my new friend here. This is Jessie, and she's a King Charles Cavalier Cross. She's obviously shivering because it's so cold out here. She's looking for a place to live, so if you think you can find her somewhere warm for winter, why not get on board www.giveadogahome.com.au. Well, the Bureau says we're in for another wet and wild day tomorrow. I'll be back with all the weather at 5:55. Mal? Wayne, is there anything you'd like to say in support of your brother?
No, mate. They're all right, mate.
Wayne.
And now here's Rakhal with all the weather details.
Yes, thanks, Helen, and a very good evening. Well, what a beautiful afternoon it's turned out to be here at the MCG. But take a look at these guys. They're going pink with zinc, of course, to raise money for the McGrath Foundation, which, as we all know, supports women with breast cancer. Now, if you can't be here at the MCG yourself, you can still chip in from home by sending the word pink by text message to 193363, and that'll add a $3 donation to the cause. Now, the warm weather is set to continue right up until, would you believe, 2010. I'll have all the details at 5:55. Helen?
Thanks, Rakhal. Coming up. Well, now down at the G, here's Rakhal with the latest on the weather.
Yes, thanks, Helen, and a very good evening. Well, after an overnight low of 18 degrees, the mercury rose to 25. Right now, it's still a very pleasant 24 degrees outside. The humidity's at 55%, and that wind's a southeaster blowing at 22 kilometres an hour. Let's take a look around town, and at Mount Dandenong, it's still 20 degrees. Despite the devastation that's already unfolded in these communities, the fire threat still remains high, though now many of the residents are sheltering elsewhere because they simply have nothing left to protect. Even from a safe distance of more than 50 metres from the exclusion zone across the road, at times the smell of gas here has filled the air, and for some residents that's been too much to take. Op shop theft has become so prevalent in the area that many stores have now invested in expensive surveillance equipment, thousands of dollars that could have gone to the needy. Thanks, Helen, and a very good evening. Well, that upper level low that came down from the north of the state last night certainly brought a lot of rain here in the city this morning, but it's cleared off to a fairly fine afternoon outside, so I've come down to the National Gallery of Victoria to take a look at a new exhibition. Now, it opens here tonight. It's called Unexpected Pleasures, and there's literally hundreds of pieces of wild and wonderful jewellery on display here for the next few months. It's the sort of stuff that if you were to, frankly, enter this very arty party going on behind me, well, you'd certainly make a splash. Thanks, Alan, and a very good evening. Well, it's been another beautiful day across town with temperatures in the mid-20s, so I've come down to Melbourne Sports and Aquatic Centre to shoot a few hoops. Now, it is, of course, NBL Grand Final week, and this is the real deal. Who do you think's going to win, Drewy?
Well, on Friday night, it's game 2. The Wildcats, they are trailing against the New Zealand Breakers, so we've got to be patriotic and hope the Wildcats can get this game 2 to send to a 3-game series.
Fantastic, and it is, of course, exciting times with next season NBL games to be broadcast live right here on Channel 10. What's your tip for the grand final?
Well, I'm hoping the Wildcats can win game 2, and if they do that, I reckon they might be able to cause an upset and get the win.
Well, we'll wait and see. My tip is showers for the rest of the week. I'll be back with more at 5:55. Mal? Thanks, Alan, and a very good evening. Well, it was another mild night in town last night with an overnight low of 15 degrees, and that, of course, was due to the low cloud cover, which has continued today. In fact, there's a pretty strong cold front coming down from the north, and that might bring some heavy rain to areas like Shepparton, maybe even here to the CBD. Perfect weather for a little bit of culture. So I've got in the middle of Contact, the netball musical. Now, it's the perfect mix for Melbourneites because it involves not only comedy, but of course sport as well, and it runs for the rest of the month. So why not come on down and check it out? Well, I'll have more information about the weather at 5:55. Mel? Yeah, thanks, Helen, and a very good evening. Well, we had another foggy start to the day today, mainly across the south of the state, but that cleared by about lunchtime. Here in town, well, it's been a bit hazy, and that's been caused by the very light winds, which is a great result for the man behind me, who's going above and beyond the call of duty for his business here at Melbourne Central. He's attached himself to these 180 helium-filled balloons, and as we speak, he's about to launch himself high in the sky. There you go.
We have the power within, we have the capacity to shine like the sun.
Rakhal Ebeli, 10 News. The good news is there is some reprieve on the way. I'll tell you exactly when at 5:55. Mel?
But first to breaking news, and 2 men are locked in a dramatic standoff with authorities after climbing onto the roof of a government building in Thomastown. Ten's Rakhal Ebeli is there and joins us now. And Rakhal, what do we know about this tense standoff?
Well, Helen, it all started at around 2 o'clock when police were called to the government facility behind me with reports that 3 men who are believed to be asylum seekers were standing on a roof and threatening self-harm. Now, I can report that in the last few moments, one of those men has jumped from that roof. He is okay. He's apparently being taken to the Royal Melbourne Hospital, suffering some kind of neck or back injury in a stable condition. But we are told that that the two remaining men do remain on that roof, and while we can't actually get access above the facility because police have cordoned off the area, including making it a no-fly zone, we do believe that they have got some small weapon, which may be a kitchen knife of sort, and are continuing that threat of self-harm. Now, as I said, the media have been continually cordoned away from the area. We're now a couple of blocks from the scene, but as those details come through, we'll be sure to get to them to you throughout the bulletin. Helen?
Thanks for that, Rakhal. Rakhal Ebeli reporting live there from Thomastown. Returning now to our developing story and the tense roof standoff in Thomastown, where three men scaled a government building, putting the area into lockdown. Ten's Rakhal Ebeli is at the scene and joins us live once again now. And Rakhal, some dramatic developments there, I believe.
There certainly has been, Helen. I can confirm that after more than 3 hours, the intense standoff that has unfolded here with three men believed to be armed and threatening self-harm, who are also reportedly asylum seekers, has been brought to a dramatic end. Now, the two remaining men who were still on the roof in the past few minutes have been brought down by a Special Operations Group and put under arrest and are still being worked on by paramedics behind me. I might remind you that the first man, who was also believed to have been part of this group, had originally jumped from the roof. He's also in the hands of paramedics and may be on his way to the Royal Melbourne Hospital as we speak. Now, police are holding a press conference with the media in coming minutes, and we'll have more on those details as they come to hand. Helen?
Thanks for the update, Rakhal. Ten's Rakhal Ebeli live there.
A violent siege has entered its 11th hour in Melbourne's northeast, with a man wanted by police opening fire in front of officers. An evacuation centre has been set up for residents in Keilor East after the situation escalated earlier today.
And 10 reporter Rakhal Ebeli is in East Keilor at the scene of the siege. Rakhal, it has been going for most of the day here. Has any development occurred?
Charlie, not at this stage. Police are giving very little away as to what developments they are having, if any at all, as this negotiation now enters, as you said, its 11th hour. What we do know, though, is after they were fired at earlier today, well, they're taking no chances and are hoping for a peaceful resolution to this tense standoff. Residents are now starting to return to the street, as you can probably see, and they're being told to now pack up their belongings and head to that nearby evacuation centre. At the same time, the negotiations continue behind me in what really could be a long night ahead for all involved. Charlie?
Well, Rakhal, let's hope it gets sorted out soon. Rakhal Ebeli there.
Headaches for travellers at Melbourne Airport today, with a blackout causing flight chaos. Thousands have faced long waits, with services in and out of all terminals affected.
Blank boards offered no help as the blackout brought Melbourne Airport to a standstill.
It all shut down. There was none of the screens were working where people were trying to check in and stuff.
Dozens of flights were delayed or cancelled, with the power outage affecting all terminals.
And I think they'd have a better backup system.
Things, the technology of today, you think that backup power they should have. So obviously something major has happened.
Check-ins and security scanners were also out of action when the electricity ceased about 9:30.
We're currently experiencing a loss of power. Services are now coming back progressively. We thank you for your patience and apologise for the inconvenience.
Virgin was the hardest hit, with all the carriers' incoming and outgoing flights delayed for close to an hour. Backup power keeping the flying Kangaroo in the air, but not without long lines. Confusion too for new arrivals, some having to wait hours for their baggage.
I was the last one out of customs of everyone before the power went out, and then we were stuck waiting for our bags.
We don't know what caused the outage. We're investigating the cause of that outage.
Full power was finally restored about 11:15, but the backlog of flights continued well into the afternoon.
Obviously, when you do have a disruption, it does cause inconvenience and delay by nature of the disruption, but we have managed to bring everything back online as quickly as we could.
Cold comfort for travellers who spent the morning left in the dark.
And 10's Rakhal Ebeli joins us live now from Melbourne Airport. And Rakhal, have airport authorities been able to determine what caused the outage?
Helen, staff have been investigating the circumstances surrounding a burst water main which apparently interfered with a power source here at the airport this morning. Now, that has not yet been confirmed as the reason for the blackout, but it certainly at this stage is looking to be exactly that. Now, I did speak with management here in the past half hour and they say they have cleared the backlog and they no longer expect any further delays into the evening. Helen.
Thanks, Rakhal. Ten's Rakhal Ebeli reporting live there from Melbourne Airport.
Staff at a one-turner restaurant have described their terror as gun-wielding bandits struck last night. The robbers menaced the workers and the patrons before fleeing with a modest haul of cash.
Melvin Ng and Connie Lau returned to the scene of last night's horrifying ordeal.
They point to me with a gun and ask me for money.
The husband and wife still shaken as they recount the moment when two gun-wielding bandits burst in demanding cash.
One of the customers say, "No!" and then I stop.
One of the men pointing a double-barrelled shotgun straight at Ms Lau's face as she handed over $300 from the till.
Horrified. Yeah. Scared.
Then the firearms were turned at patrons as they too were ordered to empty their wallets.
One guy point to one customer, they say money. They don't speak too much.
The gunmen are described as Caucasian, between 20 and 30 years of age. Both were wearing white hoodies and sunglasses and were last seen running towards nearby Thaxted Parade. Neighbouring shop owners say the violence is getting out of hand. The Miko among several businesses burgled in recent months and hit by vandals.
Terrible. I worry about my staff and we have to take measures. I've got to put cameras in my shop now.
Senior police are also concerned they see a trend.
On occasions it appears that this is almost recreational violence or gratuitous violence with no thought of on the impact.
The distraught couple now say they're likely to shut down the restaurant, fearing they could be hit again.
I think this is not safe for us to do the small business in Australia. I feel not safe in Australia.
Rakhal Ebeli, 10 News.
This weather report is brought to you by Pino Clean Scrub and Wipe. One side for everyday touch-ups, the other for tougher mess. Pino Clean Scrub and Wipe.
And as the sun sets on Melbourne, here's Rakhal.
Thank you, Mal, and a very good evening. Well, it's been an absolutely gorgeous day here in Melbourne. We did reach that top of 25 this afternoon, and right now it's still a very pleasant 23 degrees as folk make their way home along the beautiful banks of the Yarra, or even taking a lap of the Tan. The humidity is sitting at 57% and the winds are southeasterly, blowing at 10 kilometres an hour. Let's take a look around town, and overnight minimum temperatures ranged from about 5 degrees in the east to a very balmy 15 at Frankston, while tops, as you can see there, were pretty much in the mid-20s. Across our state, and there were isolated showers over the northeast and Gippsland regions where low cloud cover actually kept temperatures quite mild through the night. Now, the lowest recording was 4 degrees at Mount Hotham, while fog in the south cleared during the morning and maximums were well up on average, with a top temperature of 28 degrees reached at Neil and Dartmoor. Around Australia and Sydney had nearly 50 millimetres of overnight rain, a lot of rainfall up there. It reached 31 in Adelaide, tops of 20 in Hobart and Canberra, while Brisbane had light showers and 27 degrees. To the satellite picture, and that high pressure system in the southern Tasman Sea should continue drifting east, while an upper disturbance to the north of the border, which has brought that rain to Sydney, will move slowly down, and combined with the cold front approaching from the southwest, it looks like we're in for some colder weather on the way. Interstate tomorrow and some showers for Perth and 22, mostly sunny in Adelaide with a top of 30, and more heavy rain for Sydney, 18 to 24 degrees. To Victoria's forecast, and we can expect some rain in the east and isolated showers elsewhere. Now, there's even the chance of some thunderstorms about the ranges, but it should be pretty mild throughout the state with afternoon coastal sea breezes. To the warnings, and there's a wind warning in place for coastal waters between Cape Patterson and Gaybo Island. Temperatures around the suburbs tomorrow: in Frankston 22, Geelong 23, Tullamarine 22, Yarra Glen 22 and Mount Dandenong 15 to 18 degrees. To the forecast for Melbourne, and we can expect a few isolated showers about particularly in the morning, with a top temperature of 23 degrees. Out on the bays, and there'll be southeasterly winds blowing at around 10 to 15 knots and waves below half a metre. To the outlook, and there'll be some showers intensifying on Friday and a humid top of 25. Saturday will be partly cloudy and a very pleasant 26. The rain should return on Sunday, 17 to 23. Now that cold front will arrive by Monday, bringing showers and 18. 17 the top for Tuesday and southerly winds, and much the same on Wednesday. So Mel and Helen, it looks like this Indian summer is coming to an end with a real seasonal change to come in next week. I'll see you tomorrow.
This weather report is brought to you by Pino Clean Scrub and Wipe. One side for everyday touch-ups, the other for tougher mess. Pino Clean Scrub and Wipe.
Now with all the details, here's Rakhal.
Thanks, Mel, and a very good evening. Well, we had a lot of overnight rain last night, and that actually continued throughout most of the morning. But this afternoon, the skies finally cleared, and we had a very pleasant top of 23 degrees. Right now, as the sun sets over our beautiful city, we're still sitting on 22. The humidity's at 61%, and the winds are southeaster, and it's blowing at around 9 kilometres an hour. OK, let's take a look around town. And as you can see, overnight minimum temperatures didn't even get below 10 degrees last night, while maximums were generally a touch over 20 degrees. Across our state, and scattered showers hit all districts overnight. There was heavy rain over to the east and a few thunderstorms up north. The highest recording was 80 millimetres at Gaybo Island, while fog patches cleared in the south with overnight minimum temperatures generally a few degrees above the average. It actually got down to 6 degrees at Mount Hotham, and we had a top of 28 degrees at both Mildura and Walpiop. Around Australia, and the rain has eased in Sydney. Brisbane had a top of 27. It reached a fairly mild 20 in Canberra, while the warm weather continued in Adelaide, another day of 30 degrees. To the satellite picture, and that trough should approach from the west of the state tomorrow and slide across Melbourne on Sunday, while an associated cold front will reach us on Monday morning and continue over to the east on Tuesday. Interstate tomorrow and partly cloudy for Perth and 22. Adelaide and Hobart can expect a few showers, while it will be partly cloudy in Brisbane with a top of 28 degrees. To Victoria's forecast, and we can expect some isolated showers developing over to the far west and also to the eastern ranges, but it should be fine elsewhere. So it'll be a mild to warm day with light winds and afternoon coastal sea breezes. Temperatures around the suburbs: Frankston 23, Geelong 25, a few more 25s, and Mount Dandenong a top of 20 degrees. To the forecast for Melbourne, and we can expect a little overnight and morning fog, but that should clear to a fine afternoon with a very pleasant top of 26 degrees. Out on the bays, and there'll be southeasterly winds blowing at around 10 knots and waves below half a metre. To the outlook, and after a beautiful day tomorrow, we can expect a few showers on Sunday with a top of 23. Monday will be partly cloudy with scattered showers, 11 to 18 degrees. Southerly winds will pick up on Tuesday, more showers and 17. A shower or two on Wednesday, 11 to 18 degrees. Much the same on Thursday, light winds and 19. And the wet weather to continue until the end of the working week. So Mel and Helen, that is the weather. Mike is back on Monday. Have yourselves a great weekend.
A loss by just 1/100th of a second? It doesn't get any closer than that.
Yes, it does. The 2010 election missed by that much.
Captain, this is the Australian Navy. Are you sinking?
Oh, give us a minute. We're still boarding. Well, you're back on, Kevin. Joel Fitzgibbon's just been on Q&A.
Welcome back, and Hollywood funny man Robin Williams is walking the white carpet in South Yarra for the Melbourne premiere of his latest film. He's played everything from a confused alien to an energetic DJ and even a cross-dressing dad. And now for Happy Feet 2, Williams lends his voice again to dancing penguins. Ten's Rakhal Ebeli joins us live now from the Jam Factory, and Rakhal, has the man of the moment appeared yet? It seems so.
He certainly has, Helen. In fact, I have him right here with me live, and it is Mr. Robin Williams. And I'm told you actually play more than one character in this film.
I played two characters. I played Ramon, the Latino penguin, and a Delhi penguin, and Lovelace, who's kind of based a little bit on Barry White.
And how does all that work out? No confusion, obviously.
None at all. One is this small and one is very big, and kind of, my inner soul is very beautiful. And it's in 3D. Thank you.
You must love this voice acting.
It's wonderful. It frees me up. I don't have to look at myself. It's great.
And how are you finding Melbourne?
Wonderful. It's nice finding my way around Melbourne. It's been great. I took a walk today. It's gorgeous. And actually the weather is warm. It's wonderful.
And working, of course, with an Academy Award-winning director. Again, a lot of pressure. As good as the first one, boys?
Better.
For me, it's better. We put a lot of all the things we wanted to do in the first movie we got in this movie, so really happy with how it plays, mainly with audiences. It really carries them along.
Fantastic. And just finally, a message for the family. It's boys, girls, mums, dads, everyone's kind of movie.
Enjoy Happy Feet 2. It is better than the first movie and in 3D.
So there you have it. As a big opening tonight, and everyone can see it right across the country on Boxing Day.
Thanks to Rakhal, Robin and George there from the Jam Factory. This is 10 News, and Workplace Relations Minister Bill Shorten is at the centre of a bun fight, accused of swearing at a Carlton shop owner. And after a day of tense debate, the minister has had to eat humble pie.
Annie Huang has lived in Australia for more than 20 years, but says she's never been spoken to like this. Yesterday, Bill Shorten entered her milk bar hoping to buy a pie for his son, and when he was told they'd sold out, he wasn't happy.
We sold out, he may be very hungry, not happy, then we F word coming.
The F word?
Yeah, F word.
She says she offered to microwave a cold one, but added it might be soft, much like Julia Gillard. It was meant to be a joke, but the Workplace Relations Minister didn't see the funny side.
He said, I'm lose her business, and that is not nice.
Shorten keen to clear the air.
I didn't swear, but I do accept that I've upset her. I've misunderstood what she said to me. I have then rung Mrs. Wong and apologised. I said, I'm sorry, I thought you were saying A when you were saying B.
But Ms Huang has refused to accept the apology. She says the Labor MP is lying and definitely did swear inside the store.
Yeah, standing here, we say F word.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Either way, humble pie was all the minister was eating today.
I've probably had enough to do with pies this week.
Rakhal Ebeli, 10 News.
Well, the long-awaited reopening of the Melbourne landmark Hamer Hall is finally underway. Finishing touches have been made to the venue ahead of a star-studded celebration tonight.
It's taken 2 years, and now the stage is finally set.
This is a stunning result, and I'm sure all Victorians will be proud of the refurbished Hamer Hall.
Brilliant acoustics, stunning architecture, state-of-the-art technology and new seats, all part of the $136 million project.
It's going to build a reputation internationally as being a venue that people want to come and play in.
And it's not just the public set to be stunned. Performers too will have a first-class experience both in front of the spotlights and behind the scenes, where some have already contributed to an intimate dressing room display.
As people come through and take tours through the building over the next weekend, they'll be able to get some glimpses into the lives and the experiences of great performers who've graced our stages.
The venue has been opened up, with a riverside entrance providing new outlooks to the Yarra and CBD.
Exciting project, a new start for Hamer Hall and a new start for arts and culture in Victoria.
While outside access has also been expanded. Architects not straying far from the original design.
And in fact, many people come in and say, was that original or did you do that?
The government hopes the revamp will attract an extra 60,000 visitors to the venue each year, starting this weekend when the doors are open for all to see.
And with the grand opening getting underway, we're joined now by Hamer Hall, or from Hamer Hall, by Ten's Rakhal Ebeli. And Rakhal, what's in store for us all tonight?
Well, Helen, it's certainly starting to get pretty exciting down here outside Hamer Hall, as you might be able to see some of the special guests and dignitaries are not letting a little bit of rain spoil the atmosphere ahead of what's set to be a spectacular night ahead. Now, just in the past few moments, we saw the Premier himself arrive, and he officially reopened Hamer Hall with a wonderful traditionary smoking ceremony there. And then some of those dignitaries are now being taken on a special tour, as we also were earlier on in the day. Now, for those of us who can't be here tonight, there will be, I'm told, a spectacular light display from 6 o'clock tonight, where the actual word is that they're going to try and replicate the spire next door in what should be a spectacular light visual extravaganza for the people at home to come into town and take a look themselves. And then, of course, the special performance tonight will be from KD Lang herself. So a great night ahead.
All sounding fantastic. Thanks, Rakhal. Rakhal Ebeli reporting live there from Hamer Hall.
Qantas is caught up in another industrial dispute, this time over safety checks on its Boeing 737 and Airbus A330 planes. It's told engineers they no longer need to inspect the planes, but their union has defied the order. Well, Ten's Rakhal Ebeli joins us now from Fair Work Australia. Rakhal, Qantas has taken this to the industrial umpire.
They have, Mel. Once again, as you said, the unions are locking horns with Qantas back here at Fair Work Australia tonight. Now, it comes after the union encouraged its members to continue doing work which Qantas says is no longer necessary. Now, yesterday, Qantas told its maintenance workers that they no longer are required to conduct pre-flight safety checks on some of its newer planes in its domestic fleet. That came after a ruling from CASA which notified the airline that those checks weren't necessary before every single flight. However, the union claims that Qantas is just using that ruling as an excuse to potentially slash up to 30 jobs. It says that it would only cost travellers around 7 cents a ticket, but this decision could cost lives.
We think it's an absolute disgrace that this management team can come out and put profits before safety, and it is certainly going to make travel in this country less safe.
Now, Qantas is, of course, moving to assure travellers that those flights will not be affected beyond tonight.
Rakhal Ebeli there at Fair Work Australia. But first to the wintry blast gripping Melbourne, and the city has shivered through its coldest May Day in 12 years and the coldest day since July 2008. A torrential downpour, which began in the early hours, is creating huge traffic headaches across the city.
Rail chaos at Oakley Station, the underpass underwater and inbound trains not stopping. The elements playing havoc around Melbourne, with Footscray Road flooded and water threatening to inundate this South Yarra home. Steady rain swamped the city, making for a frustrating commute. Roads clogged and gutters swelled as those stuck in it did what they could to escape.
We had a low pressure system developed to the east of Wilson's Promontory overnight, and that's directed southerly winds across Melbourne, and we can expect to see gale force winds with that low pressure system as well.
From around 12 degrees at midnight, the mercury fell into single digits this morning and stayed cold. As it bucketed down, volunteers for a cystic fibrosis fundraiser did their best to support the cause. 700 students competed in the wet. This athletics carnival testing their resilience both on and off the track.
There's a few cold bodies out there, but at the moment hopefully the coaches are keeping them warm.
Jumping puddles helped.
Yeah, almost like quicksand, you could say.
So much rain in just one day that it stacked up against the monthly May average of 55.8 millimetres. The SES is being flooded with calls, and authorities are urging Victorians to take all necessary precautions.
Do not drive into floodwaters. It is very dangerous and a stupid thing to do.
There was close to 20 centimetres of snow in the Alps. But despite appearances, the Bureau believes we're still in for a warmer winter than usual.
Which doesn't help the ski season, but we can still expect to see individual events wet and cold, such as this event.
Good news for some.
And Ten's Rakhal Ebeli joins us live now from Kingsway. And Rakhal, a miserable journey home tonight for thousands of commuters, I imagine.
That's certainly the case, Helen, as you might be able to see behind me. Today's downpour is certainly causing an awful commute home for thousands of motorists as they make their way out of the CBD. Victoria Police is urging for drivers to exercise some calm and, of course, extra care with these conditions expected to continue for at least the next few hours. Now, the SES has already been called to more than 200 jobs. Most of them have been down at Geelong, but they are expecting that number to spike as thousands make their way home, potentially to discover damage done throughout the day. And with gale force winds now expected into the night, it could be a very long one ahead for volunteers. With more on this wild weather, here's Mike Larkin.
The rising cost of petrol means it may be cheaper to fly this Easter than drive. Motorists have been warned to fill up early or feel the pain. 10's Rakhal Ebeli joins us live now. And Rakhal, it's a familiar pattern this long weekend.
Certainly is, Helen. The experts are saying that we are expecting to see the price of petrol jump to what could be a year high of well over $1.60 as many families make their way to holiday destinations right around the state this Easter break. Now, there will be some reprieve in sight. That should be over the next few days, where they are saying that petrol prices should dip down to about $1.45 per litre, but that reprieve will be short-lived. Some analysts are now saying that we might even look at that magic $1.67 per litre figure. Now, that would be the most any Victorians paid for petrol since 2008. Now, as you mentioned, it is becoming comparable to some airline flights, with the round trip on the weekend expected to cost, let's say to Albury, up to $100. Here's what the RACV are offering as advice.
Our advice to motorists is to fill up sooner rather than later, with the possibility that we could have a new maximum over the Easter weekend. So our suggestion is to fill up before Easter rather than leaving it to during Easter.
Some good advice there, and it does come as a bit of a double whammy for families, with the next high in the price cycle expected to hit at the end of the school holidays. Helen.
Thanks, Rakhal. 10's Rakhal Ebeli there.
Well, for those at the beach, they've packed it in as the weather begins to change. Here's Rakhal.
Well, Mel, it's very gusty now, but as we mentioned earlier in the bulletin, it was a warm night overnight. We didn't dip below 16 degrees before the mercury climbed to that top of 29 just after 3 p.m. And now it's really dipping down and dipping down fast. It's 26 degrees, and you might be able to tell it's really starting to blow a gale down here at St Kilda Beach. Now, let's take a look around town. And as you can see, most locations reached into the high 20s, but take a look at Geelong. They had a whopping 32 degrees. Across our state, and overnight minimum temperatures were generally between 6 to 9 degrees above the average, with the lowest recording at the aptly named Coldstream. Maximums were also well up on the norm for this time of the year, and it reached a whopping 35 degrees, would you believe, at Hopeton. Now, there was a little light rainfall over the alpine areas, but nothing significant anywhere else. Around Australia, and it was warm weather right across the continent. Hobart 26, Sydney 25, and a top of 27 in Brisbane. To the satellite picture, and that cold front will move across the state from the east tonight. Now, that should bring with it some cooler southwesterly flow that will persist for the remainder of the weekend, while another high should move into the Bight on Monday, and that might reach Victoria on Tuesday afternoon. Interstate tomorrow, and another sunny one for Perth, and 31, 20 the top in the city of churches. Hobart can expect the odd shower on 17 degrees, and showers developing in Sydney with a top 2 of 26 degrees. To Victoria's forecast, and we can expect showers in the east at first, with more isolated rain over and about the southern and mountain districts. So it should be a fairly cool day with southwesterly winds, but they'll ease later on. To the warnings, and there's a gale warning in place west of Point Lonsdale and also east of Cape Schanck. And if you look in the middle, you might see a strong warning there. Temperatures around the suburbs, and they're way down on what they were today. A couple of 17s, 19 in Tullamarine, 18 in Yarra Glen, and Mount Dandenong a top of 14 degrees. To the forecast for our beautiful city by the bay, and we can expect another cloudy one tomorrow. There is a chance of the odd isolated thunderstorm, and we're reaching a top of 19 degrees. Out on the bays, and there'll be northwesterly winds blowing at around 20 to 30 knots and waves of up to 2 metres. To the outlook, and it'll be cloudy tomorrow, as I said, with a top of 19. Much the same for your Easter Sunday. We can expect some showers to set in on Monday, 13 to 17, some patchy drizzle and 19 on Tuesday, cloud clearing and 22 for Wednesday. Thursday will be finally sunny and a top of 24, and then more sunny skies ahead on Friday with a top of 26. But guys, it does seem like we're in for a bit of inclement weather over your Easter break. 5 months pregnant and with little to say. 18-year-old Jessica Croucher was one of a gang of teenagers who attacked 6 victims in 90 minutes of utter madness. The spree starting at Birrarung Ma, where Olympic basketballer Rachel Jarry was punched and kicked on the ground.
It was a pretty traumatic thing to go through.
She's since used the vicious assault as motivation preparing for London.
It just goes to show that no matter what, you can just achieve your dreams, nothing can stop me.
Her friend Megan Hustwaite was also set upon, left with a broken nose and fractured cheek before their bags were raided.
It's probably something that will always be with both of us and everyone else that was unfortunately attacked on that night.
The court heard how the teenagers then gave 3 men serious facial injuries in a second robbery before Croucher slashed her final victim twice across the arm with a box cutter. She pleaded guilty to intentionally and recklessly causing serious injury and robbery. An update posted yesterday on her Facebook wall describing how much she appreciates her freedom. Judge David Parsons described Miss Croucher as a young woman who's dealing with a whole range of difficulties and acknowledged her considerable effort to change the trajectory of her life in recent months. She'll be assessed for a youth detention order and is due to reappear in court later this month. Rakhal Ebeli, 10 News.